Hi, welcome back to another YouTube video. I thought I'd have a quick look at some of the Windows 10 accessibility features. Now, there's lots of videos and documentation about this online already. And hopefully a lot of people watching this will already know about some of these things, but it's always worth revisiting because sometimes you forget about things. They do frequently add new things as well. So this is Windows 10 I'm going to be looking at today. A lot of these accessibility settings will be available in previous versions of Windows as well, so it's worth having a look. So let's have a quick look at where the accessibility settings are. Well, the only slight issue is there are actually settings that were useful in lots of different places on the computer. One of the easiest ways to find things for me is just to press my start key on the keyboard, or you can click on the little search box in the bottom corner here and type in what you want to look for. So for example, if I type in theme, I get things about themes and related settings. I get things about changing the high contrast theme, turning high contrast on off, that sort of thing. So if we go to one of these, we've got things in there for turning on the high contrast if you want to. Just bear with me a second. So it's moving a little bit slow. There we go. So that's how we're turning high contrast on. So that's just one of many different settings. You can change display options. You can change all sorts of bits and bobs. Obviously, on my computer at the moment, the desktop's a little bit messy. So if I was working with someone that found that particularly difficult to access, I would probably just completely get rid of the background image, but like one single colour black or something, and then maybe just have one area with all my icons and things in it, or perhaps doesn't even have icons on the desktop. I don't tend to use the icons on the desktop personally very much. I just tend to type in what I want to load at the bottom of the screen. So that's one way to find settings. So if I type mouse in, it will come up with my mouse settings here. And there are some settings in the mouse settings. There's settings and ease of access, which is the accessibility section on the computer. You can also find settings in here as well. So if I type in ease of access, hopefully it will, there you go. It's come up with all different ease of access things in there as well. So there's lots of different ways to look at these things. Like I said, there's quite a lot of different things in there, and they are a little bit all over the place. Now, one thing you can do, and this is true of older versions of Windows as well, there's something called, it's been dubbed GodMode. Just get rid of that a second. So if I type in GodMode, Windows GodMode, if I click on here, it tells me about what GodMode is. But if to enable GodMode, all I need to do is copy this. Oops. So I was going to highlight that text, copy that, and go to my desktop. I go to new folder, and then I'm just going to paste that in there. You might just have to get rid of the space at the end if it's copied space. Excuse me, press enter. Now it changes to this icon here. I'll just leave that in the middle of the screen for now. Now if I double click on that now, that gives me pretty much all the different settings I could possibly want on the computer. So it's got the ease of access settings in there, it's got File Explorer settings in there, it's got internet options, loads and loads of stuff all in one place. So some people might find that easier to find things. Some might not. It depends on how much stuff you actually want to be able to access. So yeah, in terms of actual accessibility settings on the computer, there's tons of different things you can do. So let's just have a quick go. I'll probably start off with the mouse settings for now. So there's various different things you can do with the mouse. In Windows 10 they sort of got this sort of control panel type interface, but you can look at additional mouse options as well, and it looks a little bit more like older options that you might have had on previous computers. Obviously there are some different settings depending on what kind of mouse you've got as well. So I've got a wireless one. I've had to plug it in at the moment because the battery was low. But that just has some additional buttons and things on that you can set up to do different things. Some touchpads have gesture controls on them and things like that on laptops, so you can pinch in and out to zoom in and out. You can use two fingers to scroll up and down, that sort of stuff. You can swap your buttons around if you're left-handed, although saying that, a lot of left-handed people I see using mice don't actually swap the buttons around, perhaps because they don't realise they can. You can change your double click speed, so if someone's struggling with double clicking, you can slow that right down or speed it up. You can turn on click lock, which basically means you can highlight things and click and drag without having to hold the mouse button down again, which is quite useful for certain people that are struggling with physically with that. There are a few different pointer options in Windows. I've actually got this extra large inverted scheme on at the moment. As you can see, it's not that extra large really, but there are tons of other ones you can find on the internet, like larger pointers and things. Just be careful what you Google. If you Google big pointers, you might get some slightly interesting things come up. So yeah, so just have a look on the internet, and you'll probably find all sorts of stuff in there, animated cursors and all sorts. There's different pointer options as well, so you can select how fast your mouse moves. I've got mine on just sort of average speed at the minute. If I put it on fast, it will make it even faster. If I slow it right down, it's really slow, but some people might need that. I'm just going to put that back up again because that will drive me slightly mad. You can enhance your pointer precision as well. This one's an interesting one, snap to. If I just I'll click on apply again. So if I go to, say, Word, for example, and that comes up in seconds, bear with me. My computer seems to be slowing down a bit. I think I've put too many things on there. So if I go to Word document or any other kind of program really, and just type something at random. Now when I try to close that, the dialog box, it's not going to do it on this because I've got Office 365. I know we find a different program to show because that doesn't really demonstrate quite what I wanted it to demonstrate there. Let me just see what else I can use. I'm trying to think what program I can put it on now. Let me go to Notepad instead, that might be better. So yes, if I type something into Notepad, now if I try to close that, that's not working properly. What it's supposed to do with Snap to enabled is automatically move my mouse cursor to this box in the middle here. For some reason it's not doing. I've had a couple of slight strange issues on my computer recently, so I'll have to have a look into that, so I apologise for that one. Let me just double check it is definitely selected. Yes it is, so it should be snapping to the dialog box in the middle, but it's not doing for some odd reason, so try it on your own computer and hopefully it will work. You've got display pointer trails, so as you can see as I'm moving the mouse cursor around, I've got this sort of trail behind the mouse, and you can change how long or short that is as well. Some people don't like that, some people find it really useful for actually identifying where the mouse cursor is on the keyboard. I'll turn that off for now. You can select whether or not to hide the mouse cursor while you're typing. I've got that set on as default on here. You can show the location of the pointer when I press the control key. So if I move the mouse off the screen, I can't remember where, I can't find it anywhere. If I press control now, you'll see that circular target that pops up around the mouse cursor to show you where it is. That's quite handy. I used that with somebody recently and they didn't know about that one. There's a few different options for scroll wheels if you've got a mouse with a scroll wheel as well. And then just usually hardware and things like that in there. So yes, there's quite a few different options on the mouse. You can also use something called mouse keys on the computer. So if you've got a keyboard or a laptop that has a number pad, you can actually use the number pad to control the mouse movement as well. Let's have a look at some other bits and bobs as well. So if we go to keyboard next, let's go in here. No, that's not gone to that one. So bear with me a second. So look at the keyboard and control panel. There are a couple of options on the keyboard, not many, but you can change sort of things like character repeat rate, which means so if I hold down a key on the keyboard at the moment, I have to hold it down for just a fraction of a second before it repeats that letter. You can turn that right down if you want to, put a long delay on it. So if I put it onto long now I'm holding down the E key, and it took quite a while before it then started typing the other E keys, and that can be quite useful if someone's struggling to come off the keyboard and someone end up typing lots of things by mistake. Excuse me. And yeah, you can change the repeat rate in there as well. There's something else called filter keys, which is something similar, along similar lines anyway. So you use filter keys to ignore brief or repeated keystrokes. So let me just get Word up as well. Okay, so if I turn filter keys on, you've got on-screen keyboard in here as well, by the way. I just mentioned that before, which I will show you if it comes up. There we go. I'm using a different keyboard layout at the moment, that's why it looks so strange, but if I press Windows and space, it turns it back to QWERTY keyboard. So you can use an on-screen keyboard if you want to. You can press one key at a time for keyboard shortcuts. That's sticky keys. That's quite useful. So rather than holding down Control and say P for print on the keyboard, you can make it so you press Control and then you press the P button for print. So that's what sticky keys is. That's quite useful. Toggle keys plays as like a little sound when you've got when you press certain keys on the keyboard, like caps lock and num lock and scroll lock and things like that. Filter keys is one that I've mentioned before, so that's quite that can be quite handy. Not so good for if you're a touch typist, but if somebody's struggling to I've worked with somebody once who was typing away, spending a long time, one or two finger typing on the keyboard, looking at the keyboard as they were doing it because they were struggling to find the keys, and then realise they make a mistake, press the backspace key, and then look up, and suddenly all this work's just being deleted in front of them. They don't realise they're still holding down the backspace key. So filter keys will actually sort of filter against that a little bit. So if I just go into Word now, hopefully that will. Let's just see if that's working. So I'm holding down the H key at the moment on my keyboard, and as you see, it's only typed it once. So it will only type one key at a time. If I press backspace now, I'm holding it down. It's only backspacing it once. So that's what filter keys does. That's quite useful, really. Let's turn that back off again for now, so that doesn't drive me nuts. You can change how keyboard shortcuts work. You can underline access keys and things like that. And you've got a print screen shortcut option on your keyboard when using screen sniffing, things like that. So yeah, so quite a lot of options in terms of the actual keyboard, which is good. And as I mentioned in the previous video, obviously you can change the whole layout of your keyboard as well if you want to. I use one called Dvorak. I'm not going to go into that too much now. You can look at my previous video if you want to find out a bit more about that one. So you'll see there's a few other options in here as well. So you've got things like the cursor and pointer, which we've already looked at. You've got a magnifier. So if I turn this on, you can use the Windows and plus button to turn this on as well. By default at the moment it's set to 200%. So as I move my mouse around the screen, it's moving, it's following the mouse cursor. You can actually change how the view is, so you can have it as a lens if you want to. So now it's just magnifying this bit around this window that I've got the mouse cursor on. So really useful on that. I know a number of people that use the Windows magnifier, and because it can be easily turned on and off the keyboard shortcut as well. That really makes a difference. And you can have it docked as well. I'm just going to turn that back off for the moment. And there's a few other settings in there for in terms of transparency and when you want the magnifier to come on and things like that. So that's quite useful. We've got things like colour filters. I've not really played around with this one much before, I'll be honest. But you can turn on colour filters, and you can change what colours it actually filters out. By the looks of things, there are things for colour blindness and stuff as well in there, which is quite a nice one. High contrast we already had a really brief look at, so it makes everything change in terms of contrast, and then you can choose a high contrast theme as well. Narrator, this one can take quite a while to go through, so I'm only going to really briefly show it in a moment, but this is basically text-to-speech built within Windows, and it's not bad. They have improved it quite a lot.
Starting narrator dialogue. Okay, button.
And you've got navigation keys and things in there. You've got loads of different settings in terms of how a narrator works, in terms of the voice, what you want it to read out, whether you want it to read out everything, whether you just want to read out certain things. If I start typing something,
Exclamation mark there.
I can
Document selected.
select everything. I can get it to read back certain things on the screen and that sort of thing if I like.
Settings window.
I'm just going to turn that off for the moment, so I'm not talking over it. So yes, that's narrator. That's quite a useful Windows sort of built-in text-to-speech, if you like, really. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that one over some of the ones that you can get. NVDA is a free one that you can download, which is probably a lot better. But if you're just hopping onto another machine, or you just want to try text-to-speech, if it works for you, the narrator is well worth a look at. You've got some hearing options as well, so you can turn on mono audio, so it combines the left and right channels into one if you need that. You can have visual alerts, which I've not really tried this one before. Try to bar the active window, flash the active window. Okay, so it gives you a sort of visual alerts of what's active and things at the moment, apparently. I'll have to have a play around with that because I've not really tried that one very much. Closed captions, so It shows you what the closed captions are going to look like, and you can change the colour of them, transparency of them, and that will appear in certain programs and things. When you've got audio, it will actually add closed captions for you. So that's really useful as well. Speech, it does have speech recognition in Windows as well, so that's really worth a look at because it's actually pretty good. So you've got Cortana, which I don't think I've currently got set up on my computer. I think it's driving me a bit nuts. So Cortana is basically like Siri on your sort of iPhones and things, and it's like the Google companion on your Android phones. So you see, "Hey Cortana," and then ask it to open a program, pardon me, or any kind of like internet searches and things like that. So that's worth adding if that's something that you need. And you've also got speech recognition built into Windows as well, which again I'm not going to go into too much detail about because that is in one of my previous videos if you want to have a look at it. But basically, if anyone's used Dragon Naturally Speaking before, it's along very similar lines to that. Perhaps not quite as good, but certainly not bad at all. So you can use your voice to control the mouse movements, you can use your voice to open programs, you can use your voice to type text, you can do all sorts of stuff with your voice. It's not perfect, obviously, and it does take a bit of training to get to work really well, but that's nice that's built into Windows as an option. So we've already looked at keyboard and mouse, and they've actually got eye control in here as well now, which is a fairly new addition to Windows. And now I don't have any eye tracking technology to actually show this one, unfortunately. But certainly in previous jobs I've worked with a lot of people that do use eye gaze technology, so that literally move their eyes around to do things, to interact with the computer, move the mouse around on the screen and do different things in different programs. So it's got some eye control options built into Windows now, which is really nice. So it's very accessible. So yeah, so that's the main things really. Just trying to think if there's any others that would be really useful to have a look at, but there's some good ones on there. Also, you can get other programs as well. There's things within different programs, different apps, different websites that help with accessibility. Google Chrome, if you have it, or Firefox, any of the other internet browsers, you can download loads of extra extensions and things for them, for useful things in terms of accessibility, in terms of like reading things out on websites and stuff like that. So it's well worth having a look at the Google Chrome store or equivalent on other browsers and to see what's available in there as well. If you've got things like say YouTube, for example, I was telling one of my colleagues on my VI team the other day that you can actually add subtitles to most YouTube videos without automatically some very dodgy looking videos popping up on it. But let's just go to the news one, for example. As much as I don't particularly want to watch Boris Johnson, I will do. So, unfortunately, with all the Parliament addresses and things, they haven't actually bothered to hire somebody to do the signing, interpreting, which is, I think, is a real shame and you know, not very doesn't make it very accessible for people that need signing, which is unfortunate. But one thing, if you go on YouTube videos, you can press this little button here that says closed captions, and it will automatically generate closed captions. Now, it doesn't always get it perfect. It depends who's speaking on the video, how clearly they're speaking, how well the closed captions work. Let me skip ahead a little bit. So you'll see now as he's speaking, it's actually adding the captions to the video as well. I've tried this on some of my own videos. Some of them do really well, some of them not so good. If you create a YouTube video yourself, you can type in all the closed captions if you want it to be absolutely perfect and accurate. Obviously that takes quite a long time to do, and it's not always very practical for everybody, but that's nice that they've got that there as an option. But yeah, certainly if you're watching YouTube, this closed captions button is really useful, and it works on the vast majority of videos, possibly not everything, but a lot of stuff. Okay, so I think that's probably about it for this video. I'm sure there's other things that I could have talked about that I've forgotten to mention or not looked at in any detail. If anybody wants to look at anything in a bit more detail, then please do let me know, and I'm happy to make more videos or add things to this one. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye.